What is up? We got Ben Mohlie in the house, guys. If you don't know who this guy is, he is, in the opinion of every good player, the best player in 40K.
Maybe 10
Fact.
years ago, my friend, but
What's
flares always will get you nowhere.
I don't know, man. With my experience, flatters get me everywhere. So I've been doing pretty good with those.
We actually did tell some Ben Mohlie stories a couple podcasts ago.
I tell Ben Mohlie stories all the time.
No, but we had good ones. Besides the same year that I decided to walk 20 miles in shoes that I had never worn before and blistered my feet off, and you decided that the young people were just too much for you, and you went, "Hey, that sounds like a great idea. What you guys are gonna do, and I'm gonna do fucking anything else," and just walked away.
Yeah.
I was like, "Don't leave me."
Just like we're all in Barcelona and we see like a regular dude just like walking by with postcards, and we're like, "Oh, this guy's definitely a local," and then we like look again. Is that Ben Mohlie? Like, how did he get there?
You did win several games in that particular ETC that I still, to this day, don't really know how you won. So props to that.
I think that was the year that I managed to beat Screamer Star at the time with like old school Necrons with my
canoe
flying command barges.
You just kept flying back and forth over him.
Yeah.
The one dude like literally basically about gave up, and I'm like, didn't we have this listed as a 0? He's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, you guys
well, that's because they gave me the table with all the giant pillars on it. So like I just moved my skimmers along all the pillars, and nobody could touch me, and just like did sweep attacks down. It was a good time. He literally couldn't touch me because he had knob bikers and in one of those games, and yeah, it was fun. So.
No, but seriously, Ben, just so you know, at LVO, I know you're dealing with two small children at home, and you were not there. But at LVO, I got into an argument with Nick Brown about Nick Brown saying that Richard Siegler is probably the best player in 40K right now. And that's probably a valid statement because he did do fantastic, and he destroyed this guy in the finals at LVO. I forgot his name, but he ended up winning.
Yes,
and
he destroyed me with a tie.
Oh, was that you, Brad? Oh, man, I never remember whenever you do well. But anyways, in the conversation with Brown, I literally was like, I just looked at him and I go, Ben Mohlie. And Nick goes, no, I think Richard's better. And I'm like, it took me maybe 15 seconds to convince Nick Brown that he was on crack, and he was wrong. And Ben Mohlie is still the best player in 40K. 15 seconds. That's it. It was like a look and a sentence. That's all I did. Yep. It was the best. Yep. So, but anyways, what are your thoughts on 9th, man? What are you, how much of it have you read so far? How familiar are you with it? And if you have read it, are you excited about anything? And that's kind of what we like talking about. So,
well, you have Rose literally calling me crying about it, so I know you're at least playing a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm getting some games in, and my good friend Nick has been on the receiving end of the resurgence. No, I really like it.
The resurgence.
So I've read the little book. I've played probably, I don't know, I think it's been like 5 games now, so obviously not a ton, right? But only had a couple weekends, I'm positive so far. I like a lot of the changes. A lot of the bigger ones I'm still getting used to. The coherency change is a big one, especially when you're playing large squads, right? It just feels very different. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing for any army, but it just I continually have to catch myself because I'm used to 20 years of playing where there wasn't this requirement for 2 ranks, right?
That's how I felt. That's how I felt. Yeah, it feels more like AOS right now. Yeah.
Yeah. You're running 1 inch, or you're running, the zipper, basically basically for your triangles, tons of triangles.
Right.
Keep coherency.
Right. Yeah, effectively you need 2 rows, right? Which is odd because 10-man units actually are more in ranks than they are in Sigmar. Like in Sigmar, you're typically using your 10-man units to spread out in these in skirmish lines, right?
Yeah.
And now in 40K, your grots are running around just in this little ball, right? And like I think I get why they did that. Like the smaller board means that you need to control board control a little bit more in terms of how much units can spread out. Anyway, that's been interesting. I'm still getting used to that. The smaller board is much smaller than I expected. When I read the inches changes, it didn't really process how much volume that corresponded to. Right,
23.7, man, it's fucking crazy. It's so small.
It's so tiny,
and the impact it has on the weapons.
That was the first thing that struck me of holy cow, there's like not a lot of room to maneuver here, right? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I haven't played enough games yet, right? I'm not sure, but it's very different at a minimum. I'll say that much, right?
You also get to notice that it impacts the weapons quite a bit too. So not only is it a significant difference in the just surface area of the board, but now like 24 inches is like a much larger distance than it was before. So we've been talking about that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, 36 inches is the new 48, right? It's like it's all you need. It's all.
Someone needs to make that shirt. 36. By the way, they just need to make that shirt and they'd sell it.
Yeah, there you go. You can have it, guys. Yeah. That's my gift to you. Yeah, so the board change is big, the coherency change is big. I really like the new missions. That's the biggest change in my opinion in terms of how match play will go, right? Obviously there's a lot of rules changes and whatnot, but I was not a fan of ITC, which is I don't think is any secret of those missions. I just the entirety of 8th edition, I just had very little interest in 40K tournaments, and I don't think it didn't feel like the game that I wanted to play in terms of, everyone hides in their corner, you try to kill 2 units, they kill 1 unit, and then you win the game at the end of the
I mean, literally, you could literally 100%. Go to my finals game at LVO, the last big tournament before we went into everything COVID.
Did you make the finals at LVO?
God damn it! I'm gonna punch you through Skype. No, but like I use it as a thing because of the fact that you're looking at a major tournament it's the big one for tons of players on it. And we did absolutely nothing because of the way that the ITC works. He was in a corner, I was in a corner, and both of us just didn't want to make the first commitment. So we literally went to turn 6 before any real engagement was done for anything. Right. And I think GWs really saw that, went, fuck this. They forced engagement. And I've had a great time because I play tested a bit, but I've been playing a ton of games the last couple of weeks and just really enjoying it a lot more. And I think it's more of a polish. It's basically what I think 8th edition was supposed to be. I call it 8.5.
Yeah. Right? So, well, in terms of the core rules, it definitely is, right? I mean, there are some fundamental changes. The charge change is a big one. The fact that you have to reach everyone you declare on. I'm not a fan of that so far. I feel like it's too restrictive for assault armies because now, it's literally impossible if you just form a ring around like one character you want to protect. Like you can't kill him in melee because you can't reach him, so you can't declare on him, so then you can't swing on him, right? Even if you swing twice, even whatever you do.
Unless you have fly.
The only thing, punishment man, but we really rewarded for good moments. So, but my big thing is that I really think they wanted to stop people from just being able to do nonsensical charges with no thinking. Because before you could just declare everything within 12, double fight, move twice, move back, and you didn't have to use tactical movement. You know what I mean? You just kind of went, derp, I'll just move a million times and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair point. Always don't keep bringing up Sigmar to be snarky, right? But in Sigmar, you don't declare targets.
You just roll.
Right? You just charge and you fight whoever you fight, and you're right there. In Sigmar, though, that works because of the alternating combat mode, right? Of 1 unit swings, 1 unit swings, 1 unit swings. I actually wish they did that with this edition, that they moved to that alternating mode rather than all the chargers go first. I really like that in Sigmar. It makes it more. You have to think about it more than just committing everything as soon as you can. But it is what it is. So yeah, that's a fair point. That it is true that if you were within 12 inches of everybody, you just declared on everyone, and then went after it, right? And then you just either killed everything or you didn't. So I mean, it's the sort of thing where most of the time it doesn't matter, but there are certain situations like I just described of I won a game because I had my weird boy doing psychic ritual, right? And I just formed a ring of grots around him at one point, and there was Space Marine characters coming to end him, and they couldn't declare a charge on him because they were all bikes. They come in, they murder the grots, finish the ritual next turn, and game over, right? But they were 1.5 inches from him, and it just felt weird, right? It was
but it sounds very movie-esque. You finish the ritual and now the victory is
is done.
Yeah, exactly. I love that secondary, by the way. I've done that to Nick Rose 3 times in a row, and he just can't get his head around stopping it. It's amazing.
I'm actually super looking forward to them adding more, because with the books you get more secondaries, and they said they were going to add more missions and secondaries with the chapter approved and stuff. Right. My only thing right now is I take the same secondaries quite frequently.
Yes.
Because certain ones are significantly better than others, depending on obviously what army you're playing. But playing a lot of Marines, playing a lot of Eldar, I raise the banners and I play whatever recon's called, engage in all fronts, almost every time. So I feel that there has to be a little bit extra basically with that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I want more variety. I like the concept. I like the structure. I like that most of them aren't easy, and even those ones you're mentioning aren't easy to max, right? Like, you're gonna get, you're gonna get points, right? But you probably end up around 10, is which is what I felt. If you got two good players, they're playing each other, for like raise the banners and stuff. It's like just the way the math works out. You're probably around 10, 11, 12, right?
Yep.
So getting 15 is actually a really big deal, which I like, that it's not just a gimme in terms of how that goes. Honestly, I think that leads into one of the points I was thinking about today when I was thinking about this call is, I think that what's going to make or break the initial competitive meta is what they do with the faction specific secondaries. That's going to really determine how the game goes, because you think back to the Maelstrom specific objectives that each army had, and it was all over the map, because it was never designed for match play, right? I get it, it was just thematic, but some of them it was like Iron Hands, get a point for every unit you kill, right? So it's like, oh, I killed 8 units, guess I get 8 points, right? Whereas the other, another one might be very difficult.
What was I think the Dark Angels that had the one that was just basically an auto 5 because you just kept it face down, and then you just flipped it up and went, well, that's 5. You're like, oh,
yeah. It was like, keep your secret. Yeah, it was like, keep it secret. Don't do anything, and you get 5 points. It's like, okay. So anyway, that's if they repeat those mistakes, then it could be very bad, because then certain codexes are going to have this huge advantage because they've just got these objectives that you can just do automatically. But if they do a good job with it, then it could be amazing, because I love the idea of like thematic objectives that are each agenda that the different factions are going after, right? Like, and I know that's what they're going for, right? And so if they pull it off, then I think it could be awesome, right? So I'm just got fingers crossed that they, make it the latter, not the former, in terms of how that goes.
Now, what do you think about adding a third element? Because we've had that for a long time, and I won't just go straight to ETC because Alan keeps giving me shit, because I effectively always go, why don't we make it exactly ETC?
Yep.
But
I'm down for that. Yeah.
Yeah. But just adding something like kill points. Basically, if you added kill points to each mission or something to the, so you just had a tertiary thing, because right now you have 245s, and you don't really have any punishment. Every single game, I'm sacrificing units like it's my job to stop progressives from being scored and or to grab something from the shooting. And there's really no downside and no reason for me not to. Mm-hmm. So if you were running Molicon, would you add anything just off the top here?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. My first reaction is I like kill points not being a thing in every game. That's, again, what I hated about ITC, is that, in my opinion, it was only about killing stuff, and especially with 6 turns, right? It was about kill more stuff than the opponent and hold one more objective. Okay, cool. Well, maybe if you're a board control army and you're playing Scrappy, you can hold one more objective for 3 turns, right? But then they're going to kill all your stuff and you just lose, right, in the second half of the game. Like, it never, at the end of the day, it was only about killing the other person's toys, right? And I worry that if you start putting in kill points again for every mission, then that's going to start to swing in that direction. Now, but more fundamentally, I think they're complex enough. Like, I think that the primaries and the secondaries together, with all the combinations you have, with the ability to actually now play to stop the opponent, which you're alluding to, Brad, right? Which in the past you couldn't really do in terms of the secondaries, but now it's
ITC, you couldn't stop them at all.
You couldn't stop it, right? So
I literally just I think that's plenty.
Yeah, I think that's plenty in terms of the possibility space. And I mean, again, going back to Sigmar, that's my ETC, I guess. Right, those missions are really good, but they're really simple. There weren't even secondary objectives up until the latest General's Handbook, right? And it was great, because there's still so much complexity and so much skillful play about pulling out those points from even just one primary mission. So I don't think we need to add more. I think that the key is going to be, again, having interesting, diverse secondaries where there aren't some auto-include ones, right? They make the ones that are impossible right now viable, right? They need to tweak some of them, and then if they do that, then I think we'll have the complexity and the variety and the choice that we're looking for. And to your point around sacrificing units, that's a good one. I think that in my mind, that just makes troops even more important, right? I think what I have already felt is that objective secured is way more important now than it used to be, if for no other reason than to stop what you're describing of, like, you park on an objective and they have to kill you off of it, or else you're still sitting there holding it, right? They can't just throw some models at you. Right?
So many, I think that because the people haven't made their armies specifically for 9th yet, but I see everybody's so excited about monsters and tanks and everything else, and you're like, well, that's cool, but one OBSEC model still stops the Death Machine army from taking.
Have you read Eradicator's datasheet? If so, your argument isn't valid.
In a salamander's army. Ben, what did you think? What do you think about
Just wait till I get my green painted ones out there. It's stupid. I read that once and I was like, that can't be right.
Salamander's list.
Ben, I'm only using 9, which is the maximum amount I can use.
They're so good.
What do you think about the new way that armies are built? The new CP and detachments
right from the start. Yep. Yeah. Turning it on its head was absolutely the right move. I really like that it's now a resource that you choose to allocate as you see fit, right? And it's part of skillful play about, am I going to spend them to buff up all my dudes pre-game, right? Because there's all sorts of toys you can buy, or do I save it for what I'm doing in the game? I really like it. And limiting the regen so that there's a ceiling about how many you can possibly get is really, really good. And what it's also done is it's made elite armies way better. In general, I think I'm on board with that. It's made Marines even better, which I'll reserve judgment until we see the new book, right? In terms of how they balance that out. But for example, like you take the Necrons, right? And again, they're going to get a new book, so it's all going to go up in the air. But I mean, previously you literally would have like 6 CP if you're doing Necrons, and like it was brutal, and you didn't get to do anything cool, right? So now like flipping that on its head means like, oh no, actually you're incentivized for having not just cherry picking the 3 best sub factions and having 1 detachment from each one, right? Which is what everyone would did. Like, oh, cool, look, it's the Cabal of the Black Heart again. Guess they're everywhere. Like, no, so like, this gets away from that. And I like that it's incentivizing playing a single faction again, right? Like for Orcs, 100%. I love Evil Sons, and I always felt pressure to, I had to take like a Death Skulls detachment to have the SAG mech that was just broken, right? Like it was just so stupid good for 84 points that it was auto include. Well, now like I'm incentivized to take just one faction, and if the other guy does just Death Skulls, then he's not taking the other stuff too. So I like that it's the way that I want to play, of having more coherent armies that just have like one theme or one faction, right?
And the SAG mech's gone
have
anyways.
Other ones, but then you're paying the price for it, right? Like you can mix and match still, but 2 CP, 3 CP goes a long way, right? So it's a heavy tax.
It adds up. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you my question before Alan steals it.
Not gonna steal your question.
He doesn't even like the question.
I'm not gonna steal your question.
He just likes to take it from me, so I don't.
It's a stupid question.
Yes, he hates the question. He just likes it when I don't get to ask it, because I ask everybody. So, Bradchester Con, $1,100 million tournaments this weekend. What are you bringing to try to win that tournament right now?
Ooh, I'm bringing Orcs if I had to go right now. Not just because I'm playing them right now, but I have been very impressed at how powerful they are right now. I think that they are low-key top tier with these new missions. Like, for example, Linebreaker, it's a joke. It's like, I'll take my 15 points right now. It's like, you can't stop it. I've got commandos, I got jumping shock buggies, I've got grots being, jumped across the board. Like, it's impossible. Again, like I was talking about my weird boy doing psychic ritual. It's like, I've heard people be like, well, you just have to deny it once. I'm like, yeah, cool story. I'm +3 to cast every time. Like, good luck. Like, it's not happening. Like, he's just gonna go rock in the middle of the board. And by the way, I'm amazing at central board control for at least 3 turns, which is all I need. And so you come into my house, you're going to meet the 10 mega knobs and the 60 boys and whatnot, and like, yeah, maybe you'll kill them, you'll shoot them down eventually, but not before the weird boy finishes his hooji dance, right? And then you're screwed. So overall, like I found the Orcs to be extremely powerful. They're good with MSU. So to your point, Brad, around like Def Coptas, for example, or my kind of spoiler unit that I can throw them out there to contest an objective or just to be in that table quarter if I need to be. But then they also have the staying power and the board control, right? So I've been really impressed with them. Bombers, I think, are going to be the new Flyers rules. I actually haven't played one yet, but that's the next way I'm going to torture Nick Rose, is just like, because you can fly off the board on turn 1, right? So it's like you start on the board, you pivot, you drop your bombs, and then peace, you're out, right? They don't even get to shoot at you. And then like the DAWs music starts, right? And then next turn he appears in the opposite corner, angled in exactly the right way to line up on the next unit, right? It's going to be really hard to stop, and it's just going to be super annoying. And then, oh, by the way, I'm just going to fly the burn bomb into the middle of all your characters and detonate it after I've bombed them.
That is terrifying right now. I'm not going to lie, the 2 things that I'm super afraid of in Orcs right now: Burn Bomber exploding and killing my universe, because I play a fairly elite army. Yes. And then, dude, I think Meganobs are nuts in this format.
Yep.
You basically go, hey, I'm behind this wall sitting on an objective, and there's 10 Meganobs here. Feel free to figure, you can come over here if you'd like.
Right.
But bad shit's gonna happen. Also, we might just show up over there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, Mega Nubs are really strong. They're at a good price point now. They're not cheap by any means, but they're in line with the other elite units. And I'm running mine with 2 kill saws. They got way cheaper. The kill saw option now is only a couple points more. But then with the +1 damage strat that you've got, they're really brutal, right? I mean, you get them into even 3 wound Primaris type dudes, and you'll just clean them up because you're like, cool, I'm 3 damage for everyone now. Ren 4, GLHF, and just everything dies. So yeah, I mean, orcs in general, I feel are very strong right now.
I think another secret thing for the orcs is the morale change is a big deal for a squad of boys. You don't lose it anymore. I mean, Correct. It just doesn't die. You have to commit to killing it, period.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. You lose 27 dudes. And you're like, okay, well, I rolled 1-2, so I lost a guy. So still here.
Right. Yeah. Looks like I'm spending the CP to bring the whole unit back.
Put it back. Exactly.
It's gross. No, it's seriously gross. Yeah. That's cool though. All right, so orcs. So there you go, Brad. Yep. He's bringing orcs.
Yep. Well, and another point too on orcs is that mortal wounds are more powerful than they used to be. I think that's fair to say because the model count has dropped. Every army has become more elite effectively, right? You're not seeing the 270 model armies, at least yet, right? And I don't think you will. I think they're gone. And so what that means is, mortal wounds are even more powerful, and orcs are actually really, really good at that. There's the bombers I mentioned, weird boys throwing out D6 smites left, right, and center, there's just a lot of different ways to do mortal wounds with orcs, and I found that to be really effective, which is really solid. But the maneuverability is the biggest thing for them. They have a rare ability in 40k to redeploy their forces. They play like Seraphon do in Age of Sigmar, right? Of like you're everywhere and you're nowhere, and you can choose exactly where you want to put your guys. And so that's just really powerful when the missions are scored by where you're positioned, right? In the past, it was only about killing things, so you could dance around all you want, and it didn't matter, But now you can do all sorts of stuff. Like in the last game I played against Nick, he's playing salamanders, similar to the list you're running, Brad, and I'm like smasher guns are just killing everything, right? Smasher guns, by the way, are still bananas.
Amazing.
Like 40 points for a smasher gun.
And they're blast.
I actually didn't even know they were blast.
They're blast. So they're blast, and they move and no penalties.
So
it's so gross.
Triply dead.
Yeah, it's so gross.
Okay, that's hilarious. I guess I'm putting more of them in my list. So the smash guns didn't work, right? And then I'm winning the battle of attrition, and it comes down to, so he took the what's it called, like While We Stand We Fight secondary for his 3 like super salamander characters with all the buffs and everything. Yeah. And so Vulcan is one of them, and Vulcan's sitting on the back objective like over on his own because Commandos murdered everyone else back there.
He's looking around. He's like, is anyone by me?
Yes, he's by there. So then he's like, what's that noise? Beep beep, and then shock assault buggy teleports across the board.
No,
charges into him and pancakes him. It takes the objective, switches the secondary, and wins me the game in one thing. And I'm like, orcs, baby, welcome to 9th edition.
By the way, he tells me I'm like, I've been doing this, and I've been waiting for this, and then he'll tell me like tidbits of your guys' games, and I'm like, none of these are real things. Like, what are you even saying? It's like, Ben Mohlie did this.
Ben Mohlie, bro. Like, it's Ben Mohlie, bro.
Like, what? Like, you have to explain to me again what happened here? He's like, he did say that. He's like, and then Vulcan
the immortal,
died
dude. He's the immortal.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the? Yeah, that's not even a real unit. You made that up. That's in crayon.
So I know it's hard for you, Ben, but not necessarily from a positive angle. Do you feel as though GW had any missed opportunities with this edition, or things you would have liked to see different? I know as I played Age of Sigmar with you a couple times now, I was hoping for some more things, but I'm curious what you maybe you think would have been a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good question. One, I was really hoping they would flip the movement and psychic phases. I really like in Sigmar that you can intentionally be in or out of range of spells with very few exceptions, right? There's a few factions that can teleport casters before they cast, but for the most part, it's like, cool, I know this guy's got this devastating ability, but I'm going to stay 21.5 inches away, and then I know I'm okay, right? And it's just a choice you can make, right? You either go into range because you have to, or you can stay out. Whereas like and also what that means is with a 30-inch deny range, which by the way I wish they introduced as well, of 30-inch psychic deny. It means that you can set up to have a chance to stop the other guy's special stuff, right?
Yeah, but just one sec on that one though. We'll come back to it later, but imagine the 30-inch deny with that new Lord of Change with the relic, where if he stops the power, you forget it forever. but we'll come back to that later.
I mean,
we'll come back to that later.
Magic. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like,
you mess with magic, you're screwed, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I really think I like that a lot. I actually like that idea a lot because right now
I love both of those ideas so far.
Yeah, no, because right now in this edition, I feel like I'm rewarded for my move, my better movement. You know what I mean? Outmaneuvering my opponent, even if the die rolls don't go your way, you still feel like you're getting a real benefit. You're putting yourself. The better player seems to have the more chance, even a more percentage, even at a dice. You're always going to have whatever going on in a dice rolling game, but it still feels. Yep. And if you added that, I feel it would even be one more for the person that's making the better movement decisions.
What else? What else you got, Ben? Those were good, actually. I'm surprised. I haven't heard those yet.
Yeah,
those are good though.
So flipping. So and just to finish that point on the psychic phase, like I think that the other reason I don't like it is that I feel like it's very rare you actually get a chance to deny other people's powers, and that's one of the coolest things I think of. You just the mental picture, right? And from a thematic point of view, put aside game balance of just psychers battling in the warp while everyone else is shooting with guns and stuff. Yeah. Like it's just a part of the universe. But the way it works right now is like, oh cool, all right, so you moved up your librarian, great. He's 23 inches away from my weird boy. Guess I'm gonna step back 2 inches before I cast my spells, right? Like, and you just never. Or like I'm going to move and run, right? So like any unit's pretty much going to move 10 to 12 inches, and like you just never get a chance to deny anyone, right? It's just you're just doing your own thing, kind of isolated. There's no interaction, and just as a general game design rule, less interaction is usually bad. So that's another reason why I would really like them to flip that, so that in my turn, if I choose to walk within 24 of you, I know that A, I'm going to get a chance to deny you, and B, on your turn you'll get to do the same, right? That's a change that I would make. So
yeah.
Let me think about what else. Again, I think more secondaries. I would have liked to see more choices, and many of the choices right now are just not viable. So they need to tweak and balance those, either in facts or in future chapter proofs. So that would be a good chance to do that.
How about this one? I'm curious what your opinion is on this one. I felt very similar to you. I never really liked ITC missions, the staleness of them, right? The take one, hold one,
40K,
and being kind of separated from each other. I wasn't a huge fan of them for quite some time now, and I think the new 9th edition missions, while they seem simple on paper, actually encourage much more engagement than I think any mission we've been playing for the last couple years. Short of maybe Adepticon, because they do some crazy stuff that does encourage more engagement. What would you have thought, though, if they made a little bit more of a tweak to it, where all these missions where you're scoring the objectives? What if they threw some of the AOS stuff in where only wizards can score, only characters can score, only someone with a relic can score, stuff like that? Or like they score more if you score it with those particular characters, or even something like 2 places of power, stuff like that. Like, do you think that would have had a place in 40K, or do you think it's too much?
I love it in Sigmar. I think it's too hard to balance in 40K because the armies play so much differently, right? They are so diverse in how they play, right, is the right way to say it. Whereas in Sigmar, obviously the armies are diverse, but at the end of the day, they've, like, right from the very beginning, they've got different archetypes, right? You've got heavy infantry archetype, wizard archetype, etc. And so, like, you can almost know the guy's stat line just by looking at the model, which is kind of cool. And what that means is that
so true.
every faction can take big monsters. They can take really tough heroes. They can take casting heroes. So then you have the legitimate choice of planning for those missions. In 40K, though, like, let's say you have to have a character with a relic walk up to the central objective. It's like, well, good luck, IG Colonel. Like, hope you brought your flak armor today. Like, it's going to be.
It's a good point.
It's way harder than, like, okay, Gazgul's just going to sit on the middle of it and, like, go pound sand, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just harder. I would love if they had a way to do it, but I understand why they didn't bring that kind of stuff in, because I think it'd be really hard to balance. One other suggestion I would have is my biggest worry thus far is that going first is too good. When I play these missions, I see no reason why you'd want to go second, like none whatsoever. And that's not to say that you can't win if you go second, right? It's not that black and white. But what is the advantage of going second? Like, for all the ways all the scoring works now. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
We totally think that you guys just don't have enough terrain.
No. Nick said the same point. We did the same interview with Nick, right? Rose.
Okay.
And he said the same
it's
point.
It's not about
and
the Alpha Strike. I mean, that's obviously a piece of it, right?
Yeah,
like going first and killing the other guy's stuff first. Obviously, that's good, right? But it's not that the Alpha Strike has gotten any worse. It's that board presence is everything now. And if you get to go first and you get to go out and stake a claim and push them back and stop all their deep strikers coming out, keeping them in their deployment zone, like, you have such a huge advantage, and there's really no recourse for that, right? Like, you just get to grab territory before the other guy does. And, like, thus far, it has felt extremely strong going first, because there isn't any countermeasure, right? There's no reason to do it. Now, my suggestion would be, I don't think you have to change that per se, but I think all you have to do is you have to say, cool, you roll off. Whoever wins, picks the side and deploys their entire army first. They're the attacker. They're going to get to go first. The defender then deploys their entire army, and the attacker takes the first turn. Full stop. Right? I think that would dramatically fix a lot of these problems, because then at least you could deploy in response to what the other person did, right? A, it would help with alpha strikes because you can block line of sight and hide the most important things and make sure they don't have angles to you. And B, two, you could see exactly what they're planning to do, and then set up your own guys to in a response.
So for the first time in forever, Brad and I will both disagree with you. Brad, I'm time boxing you 3 minutes. Go.
Basically, for sure, you can't deploy your stuff because of the fact that I have forward deploying units. I can block the entire table off. If I get to go first, I'll just be 9 inches away from your board. 2, so I really like the you go, I go. But as far as going second goes, I actually prefer going second against most armies because I put 2 to 3 forward deploying units in my army, and I also want to counterpunch. So I have fast moving things that have lots of attacks that'll take the objective back from you. So I know where to go. So I basically design my armies to start with things in the middle of the board, and then also to counter and move up and either do short range firepower or lots and lots of melee attacks. So I can basically focus my attacks on whatever objective you are lighter and or just went up to.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Alan, what's your 3 minutes?
All right. So my first part. So I will admit there's obviously an advantage to going first. I think there's also an advantage to going second. It's just a little bit different. But I want to first start off with where I disagree the most. Where I disagree the most is the idea where if you know you're going first, you should just deploy everything, and then the second person should counter. I think that's so strong. That makes it even more strong, in my opinion, for the person who's going first, because you now know you're going first, and what you're going to do is you're literally going to put yourself, if there's no C's, you're just going to put everything on the line. And you're going to run up and take more board presence and more. You're going to be in more of a position to have even more of a control of the game because you knew you're going first. The fact that you don't know, I felt in my games, people were being kind of reserved. Like I've been in most of my games, I've been very cagey, like really deploying very far back as far as I can to stay out as much alpha strike as possible. And when I win the roll, in most of the games where I win the roll, I go first. I let them go first because I've deployed so far back that I want them to come up a little bit so I can actually kill them on the points. And the way I've been playing it is like, let's say there's 6 objectives. I'll have a strategy to either, he's going to push up and he's either going to get 3 or 4, depending on how far he pushes up with his units, right? And the fact that he doesn't know he's going first, he's maybe only going to get 3 because he probably kind of reserved a little bit too. So with that being said, if he gets 3, I'm going to shoot him off his 3rd, and I'm going to try to take 3 on my 2nd. If I can. And I'm just going to try to keep it tie or close like that until later in the game. And I feel like it gets cagey where you play through. So I really dislike the ITC kind of went towards that recently, which deploy your whole army. And I just felt like there's no risk in it. And that's what really made me the most mad. With no C's and deploying your whole army, I just felt there's no risk. Right. So I do like the alternating. I would agree with you though, taking some board presence early on, there is a big advantage to it. I think the advantage this player 2 has though, is the ability to pick and choose where he wants to fight that battle now. He knows what ground that his opponent has taken. I know now how I'm going to approach that with my reserves and my deployment units.
Yeah. And it's a good point around the no risk in terms of going all out, right? That's fair criticism of that. I think that I like the board control and the fact of jumping on the objectives, the responding to the other person's actions. I just don't buy that it actually helps, because in the order of operations, when you think about how the scoring works, you have to hold it for a full turn, even if you're going second, right? You walk onto it at the bottom of 1, right? Let's say you do what you just described, right? You shoot him off a couple objectives, you run on. He then gets the exact same opportunity you had to prevent you from scoring points of shooting them off. And the difference is that he's gotten to go first and control when and where you can go, right? Like blocking off areas for your deep strikers to come in, putting OBSEC on squads, on units, going and taking the ruins now, where taking a position on the field, which actually matters, because like defending the ruins and stuff is actually really good.
You do get the first, basically you come with more firepower percent-wise though, because effectively if you don't get to shoot anything my turn 1, and then I kill some of your stuff, when you try to then counter kill me, you're now shooting back with 80% of your army while I shot you with 100%.
Yeah, but to your point earlier, Brad, I mean, you're going to do it with sacrificial units, right? So like for me, it's like, okay, cool, I'm going first, great. On the forward objectives, I'm going to throw 10 grots on each one. By the way, these grots are so short that you can't see them over this wall, so you have to actually walk over there and charge them, right? And stuff like that. And then cool, let's say you swipe off those guys. I scored some points for a secondary, like I was playing Dominion the last time, of like control more than half on your turn, right? So cool, I throw the grots out there, I score points. I'm forcing him to respond and send somebody to that objective. objective, which, by the way, when you're playing against Marines, any unit they send over there is worth a hell of a lot more than 10 grots. And so then when you murder it in turn, you're actually winning that exchange, even though you went first, and you have set the tone. So
Well,
I remain convinced.
You go back and forth in exchanges, though. But I'm also starting with one of the objectives firmly under my control, because you definitely can't send 10 grots at 10 infiltrators.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah, and that is a benefit to things like infiltrators that can actually deploy forward on the board, which is cool that there's actually, it's more than just jumping on the opponent, right? It's actually about taking up territory. So that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, again, we got to play more games, right, to see how it really shakes out. But in my 5 games, I just feel like the advantage of going second, I don't think it's real. I think
you definitely articulated an argument for it far greater than anything Rose ever said on this podcast. So it's very clear you're in sales, and he works in a dungeon somewhere selling boxes with wires. So. And Brad's freezing over there. I don't know what's going on with his camera.
And for the record, I've gotten to go first both the last times I played Nick, so it's not like I'm going second and getting rocked, right? I'm like, this is too good. I'm just like put all my stuff down.
The other thing with that is you're also playing an army. I think that's very, very. You're playing a horde army, so it is a little bit better. A horde army can probably get a little bit higher on the first turn, and can do a little bit more on that. However, it's like if I'm playing mostly Marines, elite armies, basically anybody that doesn't have 200 models, I just feel it's not super easy, but I've been able to kill people off. And the fact that I take the board with those infiltrator units, I think they're just a must-have. So I end up having, usually, even if you push up all those orcs, I have my one that's in the middle, you have your one that's in the middle, and we both have the 2 backs. So worst case scenario, I still feel like I'm getting a 10-10. And I'm still getting to kill a little bit more on my counter. I mean, it still goes back. I just like it anyways because it becomes more of a back and forth. We both get to make decisions, and who basically messes up first.
And to be clear, I like the having to sit on an objective for a turn to get the points, right? I think that's a good change of that. It's not just about throwing sacrificial units out and you get primary points, right? There's still some secondaries you can score that way. So I'm not arguing to change that where you score only at the bottom of the turn or something like that. But that said, what that change means is that the inherent advantage of going second in some mission formats is gone, right? Of the way you have no advantage in scoring points in terms of how that goes. And again, to your point, Brad, if you've got units sitting out in the middle of the board because of the alternating deployment, I've effectively gotten to position my guys in response to them anyway, right? And by the way, by playing more units, right, I just put down all my grots and stuff that don't matter first. Cool, you're entirely deployed. Then I put down everything that actually matters, right, in exactly the place that I want it to. Whereas, otherwise, if you deployed everything, I deploy everything. I don't have that advantage, right? So it feels to me like MSU armies have a big leg up in that way.
The only thing is I'll be hiding. Let's not kid ourselves. If I put a unit of infiltrators down, they're near an objective. And they're hunkering down, holding their head between their legs, trying not to get shot. So they're definitely
good luck with that though. The obscuring rule is another thing I don't like. To that point of, I think blocking line of sight, just the way looking at their example tables, right? If you set up something exactly like it, it's actually really hard to entirely hide units because you set one toe into that terrain and then they can see you.
They can see you. They can shoot you through the terrain. Yeah.
So I mean, we could have more terrain, Brad, but I just don't. And with most of the missions, it's don't place the objectives in the terrain, right? They have to be just outside of it, whatever. I don't know. I feel like there actually needs to be more line of sight blocking, because the way the ruins work right now, I just don't feel it's that practical, right? Because
I don't think they went far enough. Yeah, I think the ITC rules of first level total blockout. I think that was a good rule, and I think they should have took that on.
Yep. That might continue also, but the thing is that a lot of those things that you guys are thinking are ruins are actually would be considered ruin walls. If you look into that, a lot of those things are ruin walls, and they have a different thing, and they basically you can just sit in them and still hide.
Well, but then it's just true line of sight, right? I mean, obscuring is the only thing of blocking line of sight, right? So that's my point of it goes back to what you had to have before, which is solid walls, right? And so if you've got that and they really do have objectives sitting in the middle of the board in boxes, then your infiltrators are going to do great, right? At least until my mega nubs come knock on the door and charge in there on turn 1 and murder everything. But let's, for the sake of argument,
there's a solid box on the table. Ben's just like, there's a solid box on the table. The jump.
I really actually think that they're eventually going to talk a little bit more about, I think, how they wanted Obscure to work, which is not that it goes away if you put a toe in it. That's
I think
fully not the intent.
Like you can see 3 inches in, or whatever it is, 2 inches, whatever it is, of like you can be in the ruin and you're out of line of sight.
Old school
but if you
forests.
walk up to the edge, you can shoot out and be shot, right? Like in my mind, that would feel more thematic, right? Of just having the line of sight.
Old school forests.
We used to play was 2 inches in.
Yeah, old school
right, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I would advocate for. I think, and I would hope that it'd be really great if they made a change for that, at least for match play, right? Of just a FAQ or something, because I think that would go a long way, and just it makes it easier to set up boards and not and have places for people to hide, right? Whereas right now, actually long skinny ruins and walls are far more valuable than a big building, right? In my opinion, right? Unless that big building is literally solid walls. So.
I think that the as intent is that ruin is supposed to block, period, not you touching it. All of a sudden it makes it like translucent.
Right. And that's like, I hope that is the intent. I hope they change it to that, but rules is written right now. It's really hard to hide. It's actually really, really hard to hide.
Yeah. I'm actually going to block off my ruin. I got the frontline box, the big box in the middle. I'm going to just block off all the windows on it. Cause back in the old days, we just,
that's going to need to stay the same.
I didn't block it off before because it was just a universal rule, right? You can't see through the bottom, but now I'm going to just close them all up. So
yeah. It's a solvable thing. I mean, it's still true line of sight, right? So maybe just every tournament continues to just make that rule or board off all the windows. Like it's fine. Right. Yeah. But that's another miss in my mind of the obscuring rule doesn't work quite the way that feels right. And probably not the way that they intended it to.
Would agree.
Yep.
Are you excited about Necrons? I think that's one of my big questions for you.
Very excited. Yeah, you guys know
both of us are going to be making
my
Necron
armies are Salamanders, Orcs, and Necrons, and Orcs are in a great place. Salamanders with Eradicators alone are in a great place, right? And we'll see what the new book brings, but they're pretty dumb right now. Just the faction is just amazing too, of all the stratagems that you got, Brad. I know you know, like they're just terrifying.
I'm just saying that the Silent King is swinging at least 12 inches of junk right now.
Yep. He's coming back, baby. I'm so pumped.
He has his own page, by the way.
We're gonna have to compare.
He has a page. Oh, these are all the things that my giant junk can do to you. Deal with it.
We're gonna have to compare Necron armies, Ben. I think we're gonna have to have a MolieCon, and I'm gonna have to come down there with whenever this book comes out, and we get some games over at Nick's house.
Right.
Get out of your hair.
COVID allowing, buddy. I'm there. That'd be awesome. But no, I'm really excited for Necrons. I mean, the models that are coming out too. Holy cow, they've outdone themselves, right? Like
amazing,
absolutely amazing.
I bought two. I actually bought 2 Indominus boxes. I don't think I've ever bought a starter set ever. And the Indominus box was just such a good value. I wanted to get the rule book, and the rule book was like X dollars, and I'm like, that's pretty expensive actually. I'm just gonna buy I'm just gonna buy the box. Right. It comes with all this.
Right.
So
exactly.
Boxes worth of Necrons right now that I don't know what to do with. So I'll just slide them your guys' way.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think that obviously it's a completely new book, right? So everything will go up in the air, and we'll see what units are good or whatnot. But the basic, when you think about how the Necrons are supposed to feel, which are these immovable infantry blocks that keep coming back and don't die. That sounds like a good recipe for 9th edition, right? We know for everything else we've just talked about of needing to hold objectives, sit on them, right? Like, so I'm cautiously optimistic that that's going to work out well. But my biggest request and biggest hope is that it's interesting. It's an interesting book in a way that the current codex is not. Like,
correct.
I will go so far as to say the current Necron book is the worst codex I've ever seen GW release in any game.
Yes.
And not because it's bad. It is bad, but not because of that. Because it's boring, right?
It's very boring. The army has no character.
There's literally
no character
that showed up in all tournaments that did fairly well against Marines, but that
doesn't even matter.
But I'm saying it's the exact same variant. Not only is there one variant, but it was also a boring variant.
It's more than that though, Brad. It's not just that there isn't variants to play, which sucks because me and Ben share 2 of our favorite codexes of our 3. My third is Khorne, not Salamanders. But
well, in Sigmar I'd agree. So we're closer than you think.
Yeah, in Sigmar we're both Khorne guys. You know my Khorne love in Sigmar and in 40K. But anyways, 5 Bloodthirsters at a tournament. But long story short, I honestly think that Necrons need to have some kind of flair, right? Like Orcs have this personality in the book. Salamanders even have a personality in their book. Necrons just have nothing. There's just nothing. There's no substance there.
And it's such an amazing faction in terms of like the story and everything. And so
it's awesome.
Look, the Silent King model, all these models are amazing. All the fluff around his return and whatnot. Like I'm super geeking out. He's my favorite character in 40K. I mean, he's just like I'm a Silent King fanboy, right? He makes the Emperor look like a chump. He's like, I raised my people out of nothing.
Out of nothing.
The main storyline is he's literally. I think it's so insane about the new fluff about it because the Necrons are so high tech that they're literally monitoring the warp with just machines. Technology.
I was super hoping.
They're also planning on shutting it down.
Brad knows this. Brad knows this, Ben. I was super hoping that he woke up because the old ones were coming back, and he just like sensed it or something.
They're super dead.
Yeah,
we killed them. We killed them 65 million years
ago.
That's
what you think. That's what you think, Ender. No, we didn't. They're in another galaxy. And they created the NIDS, and the NIDS came from there, and they're just chilling over there, dude. They're chilling over there.
That is a fan theory, by the way.
I'm telling you.
Maybe that's why he left the galaxies. He went and curb stomped the last old ones that ran away.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, or maybe they're coming back.
Done. Going back home now.
Yeah, or maybe they're coming back. I don't know, man.
It's one of my favorite new book stuff on that, the short story about the Silent King going to talk to Dante and basically going, hey, I want to go fight these NIDS together. You can either fight it with me or I'll just wipe the floor with you. And he's like, I guess. Like, also, who are you?
Who is she?
I love it.
No, I do too.
I'm super pumped about all that.
I mean, we're gonna have to talk a lot to work on coming up with some fun lists with that. As soon as the book drops, I'm very excited for it. So
can't wait.
I want to get Silent King and everything. I'm really pumped. But I'll be playing orcs probably in any local events. With COVID going on right now, we don't have too much going on. But if I can go to any tournament, I'll probably play orcs as well. I've been seeing a lot of the same stuff as you.
Yep.
With,
you have as much going on as standing in an elementary school parking lot like I am right now.
Brad lost power. Brad lost power to his house. The transformer blew like 10 minutes before our call. So I told him to just go across the street to get some lights somewhere and just Skype from there. And then I said, I'm like, it's going to be funny if like a Karen shows up and she's like, excuse me, you're not supposed to be filming in a school grounds.
So I'm literally standing next to the monkey bars right now.
Yeah, but
that's pretty weird, bro.
But you're so going to go do some pull-ups over there in like 2 seconds.
I already did. I did that before.
Yeah, man. Well, this was awesome. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to talk about. I think we got a lot of good stuff from you, Ben. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're tired with the 2 kids and the job and everything going on, so we really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Let's do it more frequently. And I'm planning to play a more 9th edition than I did 8th edition, right? Like I still love Sigmar. I think it's in a great place. But I'm really excited about the changes they've made, and the factions that I like the most are in 40K. And I'm more of a sci-fi guy than I am a fantasy guy, right? So I've loved the game for Age of Sigmar. I think it's an amazing game system, and I love Khorne in that universe. It's really fun. But nothing gets me more excited than playing the 65 million year old robots that have come back to claim what's theirs.
Yeah, man. War Games Con, dude. I still think about that War Games Con game we had, dude. Where you're freaking Lord, you came back to life like 4 times, bro. And Ben's like, if he comes back on a 6, he gets all his wounds. 6, boom, he's back, bro. He's just chilling, dude.
Yep. 1 out of 3 times, it works every time.
Just so gross, dude. It's so gross, man. And then you over in ETC with that Pokeball thing that they had, where they just trapped them in the thing with the 3d6 leadership or whatever. That was awesome too.
I forgot about that.
The Tesseract Labyrinth.
Tesseract.
Yes.
That's exactly. I really hope that it's back in the new book.
Ben's just looking at his opponent. He's like, "Are you ready for my mind scarabs? My mind scarabs."
They did a great job on that. The model of the one Inquisitor has that thing on them that he sent her, basically the Tesseract trap that he just sent with the information.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
That's now on the new model.
That's pretty sick.
She opened it up and stuff. Yeah,
that's pretty sick.
She has that as part of her deal because he sent info in that, but it was a figure out how to get out of this, and you get the info. If not, well, screw you. Right. You're not worthy, basically.
You know what story we tell a lot, Ben? The story in Barcelona where you woke up and you like stepped over my bed, and then you came out and you just went into the room. You're like, Ellen's just bleeding everywhere right now. I don't know what's going on. And they're just looking at you like, yeah, he fought the city. And you're just like, oh, okay. Sounds good.
Ellen versus Barcelona 2.
That was so funny.
Like, should we be concerned? There's blood everywhere. No, he's fine. He'll be all right. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, well, I gotta go, guys, but it was fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
And I'll be getting more games in, and then see if any of my opinions change. So,
all right, guys.